Hello, this is the DeepSec 2007. Peter Pugerthofer, professor at the Technical University Vienna, is here with us at the Deep Security Conference 2007, the first deep security conference in a way of intellectual technology and internet and information technology. So we had here 2 days, very dense talks, etc., in the Renaissance Penta Hotel in Vienna. And now Peter Pugerthofer, before we start with your very interesting and crucial themes that you were tackling in this conference, would you just be nice to introduce yourself?
My name is Peter Pugerthofer. I'm associate professor at the Institute of Design and Assessment of Technologies in the Faculty of Informatics at the Vienna University of Technology. I work mainly in the field of design within technology or designing technology. So my core fields are things like user interface design, game design, experience design, maybe a little bit design theory and questions about the design process. How does design and rationality mix up or not? And also a number of questions concerning the interplay between society and technology, or the development of society and the development of technology and innovation, like copyright, privacy, security or insecurity, vulnerability and stuff like that.
And could I ask you now what theme you have been tackling here at the DeepSec Conference 2007 in Vienna? Because this has to do with something, as far as I was informed, about an older, let's say, technology of how society organizes itself, which we call democracy, which has to do with certain people are allowed to vote. They are allowed to vote all the 4 years, for instance. There are rules for people that are in power for a period of time, how they can stay there, how they have to go away. There are different roles, so it's a bit like software programming. There are objectives, there are life cycles, there are object domains of who can do what, and so on. And yes, what have you been tackling here at the DeepSec?
Well, I've been talking about the problems or the field of e-voting that is that is discussed widely at the moment in many different levels. My basic assumption is that we shouldn't do it. E-voting is a silly thing to attempt.
What is it, by the way?
Okay. E-voting in the broadest sense means using technology in the process of an election. Technology, more specifically probably digital technology, so using computers as a means to facilitate the election. The typical forms of e-voting are voting machines or voting computers, where you go as the voter and cast your ballot by means of a touchscreen or something like that. Or there are some more obscure forms like the voting pen in Hamburg that was used and stuff like that. But also, for example, like they do in Estland, where you can vote via email. Stuff that was done in England, where you can vote via SMS and things like that. So that's all in the e-voting term included. The interesting thing about e-voting is that when you look at it mathematically or as a cryptographer, and I might say as a computer scientist, then it poses a number of very interesting technical problems, interesting mathematical problems that switch these people immediately into a kind of problem-solving mode. You know, that it's an interesting challenge, so let's see that we can do it as good as possible. But these challenges one of the challenges is, for example, how can I ensure that one person can input only one vote, can cast only one ballot? So I don't want to identify the person, because then the secrecy would fly out the window. But on the other hand, I don't want to have people come and go and cast multiple votes and stuff like that. So that's a difficult problem, and there are sophisticated solutions to that. And it's very interesting to look at that, to understand that. But once those engineers and mathematicians get switched into this problem-solving mode, they fail to see that it's embedded in a larger context. This larger context is one of society and the meaning elections have in society and the value they have for society, and the very many and fine nuances that are in the way we do our voting. So they come up with some solutions to these problems, and they can be very good solutions to these specific problems. But in the end, the whole attempt to introduce technology into elections is probably wrong. But once you're switched into this mode where you just see the problem and nothing else anymore, that's not a question that occurs anymore, because you found a beautiful solution to this closed problem, and the fact that reality is not closed but open and messy just slips away then. So when you look at voting, you see that the voting process we are using now is very much tailored to optimize the transparency of the whole process. And the transparency means not only for experts who come, like from the UN, and observe the election, but for everybody. So in countries with good election laws, electoral laws, you can watch the whole process. You can go in the morning to the polling station and see the setting up of the ballot boxes, and by watching it and witnessing it, you can also witness that there were no ballots in there before it was sealed and stuff like that. No magic tricks, no little magician that puts some, so you can just watch that.
In a way, the people who set up the boxes would allow anybody to look at that, and they will be instructed that this transparency, even in building up the voting hardware, even in the analog sense, that it should be transparent to everybody.
Yeah, this is what the voting laws at the moment allow us, even in Austria. So I can go at 6 in the morning to the polling station, wait to be let in.
It's a good idea for a sort of 21st century democracy morning party, no?
Actually, I'm thinking about making it an exercise for students when the next time this one course I'm giving, which is Gesellschaftliche Spannungsfelder der Informatik, which is almost impossible to translate because
crucial thematic fields of informatics.
Yeah, something like that. So let's say informatics and society. And when that course crosses the next election, I'm gonna give the students points if they go and watch an election and document it with pictures. And then you can sit all day in the polling station and watch and witness and see that nothing happens. You know, that everybody gets the same sheet of paper, that everybody has his secrecy in the box and stuff like that. And afterwards, unfortunately not in Austria, but in Germany, for example, you can stay and witness the counting of the votes, can see that nothing goes wrong there. And the nature of these proceedings is so that everybody can understand that. You know, everybody can come. I always use that fictional union of paranoid supermarket cashiers. You know, well, that's a group of people who all work as supermarket cashiers and are paranoid. So they think, okay, this vote is going to be rigged. You know, and they can go, and by witnessing everything, they can just organize themselves. You know, everybody goes to one polling station, maybe in pairs, and by witnessing the whole process, they can make sure that nothing is rigged, because the process is so simple and transparent that everybody can see and verify that nothing goes wrong. In the end, you have the number of votes, and the chief of the local polling station picks up the phone, calls the head office, and gives them the numbers.
And the citizens can read them in the newspaper Absolutely. Next day if it's one less or one more, or just the exact number.
So the whole process is so simple and transparent that it's easy for everybody to verify it and understand it. with one little exception, and this is what happens inside the voting box, you know. But this is the other side. It's defined that this is not subject to any scrutiny, not to any witnessing. You can, when I give my vote, when I make my marks on the paper, I'm by myself. Nobody else is allowed in there. And nobody can witness that. So that's the other side. It's very well defined when I can watch and when not. So now let's introduce technology. Let's take some computer with a touch screen where you go and type your votes into the cast your ballot by typing on the touch screen. Now I can go there and watch that, but I won't see anything. I can't verify that the votes are counted in the correct way, that not some votes are dropped or doubled or counted for the wrong party. Not even me as an expert. Well, there might be people who are technically very much more adept, who believe they could do that. They could understand technology so much that by investing enough time into observing the machine and looking at it beforehand, they could, with good consciousness, say that this is not rigged, this is true, because of the cryptography involved. But is this really true? Can we do that? Can we prove that the technology cannot be rigged, cannot be fixed, cannot be forged, or whatever, so that the person just doesn't notice it, you know? And we can't. Fact is, information technology has a level of complexity where you cannot prove whether it's right or wrong. Whether it's...
you can prove that you cannot prove.
Yes. This is at least what Klaus Brunstein said. He has the proof that this is impossible to show. And he's the president of the International Federation of Information Processing, which is the largest umbrella organization in this field. So you're using a technology which is basically a black box, and we have to trust. We have to sit there and think, well, let's see if this, let's just hope this is not rigged in some way and this counts the votes correctly. In the end, we will, the organizing persons from this polling station will go to the screen, will tap some stuff, probably have a key or something, and see the results. And the only thing we can do is believe that this is correct. So all the transparency that was, where it was possible for people to witness what is happening and say for themselves, see for themselves that this was a fair election and a free election, is gone, out the window. And all we can do is trust technology and trust the people who tell us that this is okay. And the question is, do we want that? Is this good for a democracy? That there's a couple of people who tell us, no, these machines are okay, you can trust them. Is this enough for us to trust them? I would say no. I would say elections should follow a trust no one principle. If an election wants me to trust in somebody in order to believe that it's that it was done properly, then the proceedings are wrong. I want proceedings for elections where I can say I want to trust no one and still be able to verify it.
And if we see that any running program needs some operators, and the operators for the analog voting would be a lot of people in a lot of these little, temporary offices that then can be watched, how they set up the box, how they count, and how they give the results to the overall result. And what happens in e-voting is that we don't see the people anymore that do these important transactions. We never see the people who programmed it, really. So even if we say, yes, we do e-voting, but we should watch all the time all the people involved as operators, no, they wrote code. They wrote it somewhere. We don't know how they look like. We don't know what they were paid. And then when the actual operation of voting is running, we have a problem of who may enter with what password where, for instance. And so how should we observe for voting the digital processing? Yeah, we cannot even do that on internet.
No, it's actually impossible. So if you craft a process that makes it that enables people to again watch what is happening, then you would give up all the good principles of voting, because